What if I told you the most expensive room in your house, the one packed with pipes, tile, and a toilet you can't move, could just vanish? Not get smaller, not get remodeled, disappear. 1 second you're standing in a full bathroom with a shower and a sink. You slide one wall, and now you're standing in a living room, and there is no bathroom there at all. That's not a magic trick. That's how people are actually living right now in apartments smaller than a 2-car garage. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how they pulled it off, including the one design trick that architects say changes everything, which I'm saving for the very end, because it's the part everyone copies wrong. Before we get into it, if you've ever felt like your apartment is fighting you for space, hit subscribe now, because this channel is basically a weekly cheat code for living huge in a tiny footprint. And seriously, stay to the end of this one. The last example on this list isn't just small. It's a single room that becomes 24 different rooms, and once you see how it works, you will never look at a wall the same way again. Let's set the scene. 250 square feet. That's about the size of a 2-car garage, or roughly a third of the average studio apartment in most US cities. Now, here's the number that should stop you in your tracks. According to bathroom sizing data updated for 2026, a comfortable full bathroom, one with a tub, a shower, a sink, and a toilet with enough clearance to actually move around, needs a minimum of about 40 square feet. The bare bones legal minimum, just to fit those fixtures without anyone bruising a hip on the sink, is around 40 square feet too, and you can technically squeeze a half bath with just a toilet and sink into as little as 15 square feet. Now do the math with me. If your entire apartment is 250 square feet, and the bathroom alone eats up 40 of those square feet, that's 16% of your entire home gone to a room you use for maybe 45 minutes a day. 16% permanently walled off, with pipes running through it, for a room that sits empty almost all the time. That's the trap. That's why so many small space renovations fail before they even start, because people design the bathroom like it's a fixed, unmovable fortress, and then they spend the rest of the square footage fighting over what's left. The people who actually solved this problem stopped asking, how do we make the bathroom smaller? They started asking a completely different question. What if the bathroom didn't have to exist all the time? If you want to understand where this whole idea came from, you have to go to Hong Kong, where real estate is some of the most expensive on the planet and apartments the size of a hotel room are completely normal. There's a now famous case of an architect who took his childhood home, a cramped flat of roughly 344 square feet. So we're talking the same ballpark as our 250 square foot example. And instead of renovating it the traditional way, he built the entire apartment around sliding walls mounted on tracks in the ceiling. Picture this. Instead of fixed rooms, he has a series of panels that slide, rotate, and lock into different positions. Push one wall, and the space becomes a bedroom. Push it again, and it becomes a home office. Slide another panel, and now there's a kitchen. And when he needs to bathe, the wall slides to reveal, you guessed it, a bathroom, tucked behind what looked seconds earlier like a solid wall or a bookshelf. By the time he was done, that single apartment could reportedly transform into over 20 separate room configurations, all inside a footprint most people would call too small to live in. This is the blueprint. Not shrink the bathroom, rebuild the entire logic of the apartment so that no square foot has only one job. The bathroom isn't gone. It's hidden in plain sight, folded into a wall that spends the rest of its life pretending to be something else. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a cool party trick, but does it actually work for someone who isn't a professional architect with a custom budget? That's exactly what I want to show you next, because the answer is yes. And some of these tricks cost less than a used couch. Keep watching, because trick number 4 on this list is the one landlords are quietly begging tenants not to find out about. So let's break down exactly how modern small space designers pull this off in 2026. This isn't one single hack. It's a combination of 5 techniques, and most of the best micro apartments in the world stack several of them together. Technique 1, the pocket door swap. A normal swinging door needs roughly 10 to 15 square feet of empty floor space just to open and close. Space you can never use for anything else, because furniture would block the door. A pocket door slides directly into the wall cavity instead. You lose 0 usable floor space. Designers working on tiny bathrooms have flagged this as one of the single highest impact, lowest cost changes you can make in a small foot-room, because it doesn't just save space, it visually removes the sense that there's a door there at all when it's closed flush into the wall. Technique 2. The tub-to-shower conversion. Here's a stat that surprised me. Converting an old alcove bathtub into a modern walk-in shower can free up to 40% more usable bathing space in the same footprint. 40%. And in 2026, this isn't even a huge job anymore. Contractors are completing these conversions in a day or two, in many cases, using curbless designs and linear drains that eliminate the raised lip a traditional shower pan needs. Less visual clutter, more floor space, and this is the part that matters for our disappearing theme. A shower with a glass partition instead of shower curtain reads as almost invisible in a small room. Light passes straight through it. Your eye doesn't stop at a wall. It keeps traveling, and the room feels like it never really ends. Technique 3. Wall-mounted everything. Wall-mounted vanities, wall-mounted toilets, wall-mounted faucets. When the sink and toilet float off the floor instead of sitting on it, you can see the floor continue underneath them. That single visual trick, letting the floor plane stay unbroken, is one of the most reliable ways designers make a small bathroom feel like it's barely there, because your brain measures a room size largely by how much floor can see, not how much air is technically inside the walls. Technique 4. The sliding or folding partition instead of a permanent wall. This is the direct descendant of that Hong Kong apartment. Instead of pouring a permanent wall between the bathroom and the living space, designers install a sliding panel, sometimes glass, sometimes a mirror, sometimes a bookshelf-fronted panel, that can close off the bathroom when it's in use and open completely when it's not, merging the two spaces into one continuous room. Close it, and you have privacy. Open it, and the 40 square feet you thought was permanently lost to plumbing just became part of your living room again. Technique 5. Hidden storage that erases visual clutter. Interior designers heading into 2026 have been especially vocal about this one. The trend isn't about deleting your stuff, it's about deleting the visibility of your stuff. Recessed niches instead of shelves. Built-in toilet paper holders instead of a roll hanging out in the open. Under mirror lighting instead of a bulky fixture bolted to the wall. None of these things make the bathroom physically smaller, but every single one of them removes a visual signal that says small, cluttered room, and replaces it with a signal that says clean, open space. And in a 250 square foot apartment, that psychological trick is doing almost as much work as the physical one. Now, I know some of you are already doing the math on cost. So let's talk real numbers, because this is where a lot of small space content online gets dishonest. A full bathroom remodel in 2026 realistically runs somewhere between about $6,700 on the low end and up to $30,000 or more if you're moving plumbing, adding custom cabinetry, or working with premium materials. And here's the part that catches people off guard. Smaller bathrooms don't automatically mean smaller bills. Because these rooms pack a licensed plumber, an electrician, and a tile specialist into an incredibly tight space, the cost per square foot in a tiny bathroom is often higher than in a big one. Permits, insurance, and minimum tray call-out fees apply, whether you're renovating 30 square feet or 150. So if you're planning a project like this, the honest advice is budget for the pocket door and the tub-to-shower conversion first, because those give you the biggest space payoff for the smallest amount of money. Save the fully custom sliding wall system, the true disappearing bathroom, for when you have either a bigger budget or, frankly, a landlord who's willing to let you get creative, because that kind of build usually involves reworking the framing, not just swapping fixtures. Let's walk through what a real 250 square foot apartment looks like once all 5 of these techniques are combined, because on paper it might still sound impossible, but in practice it plays out like this. You walk in the front door, and the first thing you notice is that there's no hallway, no wasted transition space. Every square foot is already doing a job. To your left, a panel that looks like a mirror closet front is actually the bathroom door, sitting flush with the wall so it barely reads as a door at all. Slide it open, and inside is a wall-mounted sink, a wall-mounted toilet, and a glass wall shower with a curbless floor. No shower curtain fighting for space. No raised lip to trip over. Just a sheet of glass that your eye looks straight through. Slide the panel shut again, and the bathroom essentially vanishes from the room. What used to be 40 square feet of off-limits plumbing room is now, visually and functionally, Just another wall in a compact but open living space. Multiply that same disappearing logic across the kitchen. A fold-down counter, appliances tucked behind cabinet fronts, and the sleeping area, a bed that lifts into the ceiling or folds into the wall during the day. And you get architects like the one in Hong Kong claiming they can generate dozens of different rooms out of a single, honest, four-walled box. Here's what really convinced me. This isn't a one-off gimmick from one clever architect. It's a full-blown movement, and it's happening in cities that couldn't be more different from each other. In Bergamo, Italy, an architect took a gloomy 19th century apartment of about 398 square feet and reworked it into a bright, colorful refuge, using the same core principle we've been talking about: walls and fixtures that pulled double duty instead of sitting there as dead space. In Verona, another architect/renter did something similar in a 377 square foot Scandinavian-inspired unit, proving you don't have to own the place outright to pull this off. Over in Paris, inside a 14th century historic mansion, an architect restored a 538 square foot apartment while still weaving in these space-multiplying tricks, blending centuries-old architecture with very modern spatial thinking. And in Singapore, designers took a former shop house of about 645 square feet and split it clean down the middle into a working office and a livable home. Same footprint, two completely different functions, depending on which side of an internal divide you're standing on. Notice the pattern. None of these projects made the apartment bigger. Not 1 square foot of new construction was added in most of them. What changed was the thinking, treating walls, doors, and even bathrooms as flexible, temporary decisions instead of permanent, unmovable facts. That mental shift is honestly the biggest takeaway in this entire video, more than any single door hinge or shower pan. Before we get to the final trick, let me save you some money and some heartbreak, because I've seen people try this and get it almost right, which honestly is worse than not trying at all. Mistake number 1, cheap sliding hardware. A sliding wall or pocket door that sticks, rattles, or drags on the track destroys the illusion instantly. If closing your disappearing bathroom takes 2 hands and a shoulder bump, it stops feeling like magic and starts feeling like a broken cabinet. Spend the extra money on quality soft close track hardware. It's usually a few $100s, and it is not the place to cut corners. Mistake number 2, ignoring ventilation. A hidden bathroom is still a bathroom, which means moisture, and moisture without proper exhaust ventilation means mold, warped panels, and a musty smell that gives away the secret room faster than any visible seam ever could. Any legitimate version of this design needs a properly vented exhaust fan, full stop, regardless of how clever the wall looks. Mistake number 3, skipping the plumbing plan. It's tempting to think, I'll just hide the bathroom behind a nice panel and call it done. But if the plumbing rough-in isn't planned around where that panel needs to sit, you end up with pipes running through spaces they were never meant to cross, which usually means either a much bigger bill later or a compromise that makes the whole disappearing wall concept impossible. Talk to a plumber before you fall in love with a design on Pinterest. A 15-minute conversation up front can save you months of ripped-out tile and a much bigger, much angrier bill later. Okay, so here's the question I promised I'd answer. The one trick that separates the apartments that actually feel spacious from the ones that just feel like a small apartment with a fancy shower. Stick with me, because this is the detail almost every DIY small space renovation online completely skips. Most people, when they try to recreate a disappearing bathroom on a budget, focus entirely on hiding the door. They install a nice flush panel, maybe a sliding barn door style cover, and they call it done. But architects who specialize in adaptive reuse and micro-living projects will tell you that the door was never the real problem. The real problem is what happens to your eye the second that panel is closed. If the material, color, and lighting of that panel don't match the wall right next to it, your brain still clocks it instantly as a door that's hiding something, and the illusion collapses. The actual trick, the one that makes a bathroom truly disappear instead of just getting a nicer cover, is continuity. The flooring has to run underneath and past the threshold without a visible seam. The wall color and texture on the panel has to be identical, down to the grain and the sheen, to the wall it's sitting next to. The lighting temperature inside the bathroom has to match the lighting temperature in the room outside it, because a slightly colder or warmer glow leaking out from behind a wall is one of the fastest ways your brain figures out something's off. Every centimeter, as one Berlin-based micro-living architect put it, actually counts, not just in terms of function, but in terms of the illusion holding together. Miss one of those details, and you don't get a disappearing bathroom. You get a bathroom with a fancy door. And that's the difference between an apartment that feels like 250 square feet and one that feels like it's lying to you about its own size in the best possible way. Let's bring it all the way back around, because there's a lot packed into this one. And I want you walking away with something you can actually use, not just a cool story about an apartment on the other side of the world. 5 techniques, in order of cost, from cheapest to most involved. Swap a swinging door for a pocket door, and you reclaim floor space for free, essentially, since it's mostly labor. Convert an old tub into a curbless glass shower, and you free up to 40% more usable room in the exact same footprint. Go wall-mounted on the sink and toilet, and you trick the eye into reading the whole room is bigger than it is, just by letting the floors stay visible underneath. Add hidden, recessed storage instead of open shelves, and you delete the visual clutter that makes small rooms feel even smaller. And if your budget and your landlord both allow it, install a genuine sliding or folding wall panel. Match perfectly in flooring, color, and lighting to the room around it, and the bathroom doesn't just get smaller. It disappears completely until the moment you need it. That last one is the ceiling of what's possible. Most of you watching this aren't going to rebuild your entire apartment around a track-mounted sliding wall system this weekend, and that's completely fine. Even picking 1 or 2 of these, the pocket door, the curbless shower, will change how a small bathroom feels day to day, and it'll do it without needing anywhere close to a $30,000 budget. So here's the real takeaway. You don't need to move to Hong Kong, and you don't need a $30,000 renovation budget to borrow at least one of these ideas. Start with the cheapest, highest impact move, a pocket door and a curbless glass shower, and you'll already feel the difference the next time you walk into that room. If this kind of small space engineering is your thing, subscribe, because next week I'm breaking down the fold-down bed and hidden kitchen setups from that same Hong Kong apartment, and honestly, the kitchen trick is even wilder than the bathroom one. And if you made it all the way here, drop a comment and tell me, would you actually live in 250 square feet if your bathroom could disappear like this? I read every single one, and I pick my favorites to shape next week's video. Thanks for sticking with me through this whole build. I know it was a lot of information, but that's exactly why you're the kind of viewer this channel was truly built for, and I genuinely appreciate you. Thanks for watching Tiny Home World. See you in the very next episode.